It is August 2006. We're inside the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. The hallway smells like old coffee and floor wax. A team of NASA engineers opens a heavy steel vault. They're looking for the Holy Grail, 45 canisters containing the original high-definition footage of Apollo 11, the crystal-clear raw data of Neil Armstrong walking on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Team pulls back the doors, and the room goes cold. The shelves are completely bare. Thieves did not break in. Spies did not smuggle them out. The truth is far worse. NASA accidentally deleted the greatest achievement in human history. I am the Watchman. Case number 1 is officially open. How does a massive space agency simply misplace the moon? To grasp the scale of this loss, we have to rewind to July 1969. The lunar module sat on the surface with severe power limits. The transmission system prioritized astronaut heart rates and spacecraft pressure readings. Only a tiny 700 kilohertz subcarrier remained for video capability. Standard television broadcasts required 5 full megahertz of bandwidth. Westinghouse engineers solved this with a specialized 7-watt camera. This device utilized slow-scan television technology. It captured 320 lines of resolution at 10 frames per second. Subcarrier frequency modulation converted pixel brightlets directly into audio frequencies. A pitch of 1500 Hz equaled black, a pitch of 2300 Hz equaled white. The resulting image on the tracking station monitors was astonishingly sharp, but your living room television could not decode those audio frequencies. NASA scrambled for a live translation method. At the Honeysuckle Creek tracking station in Australia, they set up a high-quality RCA monitor. They piped the pristine raw signal directly into this screen. Then they pointed a conventional broadcast camera right at the glass. You watched a literal recording of a television monitor. The optical transfer process destroyed 60% of the original detail immediately. Heavy contrast and visual static flooded the global broadcast, but engineers like Ed Von Renard saw the true crisp image on their local screens. They recorded that raw signal onto 1-inch magnetic tapes running at 120 inches per second. Those 45 reels held the only flawless record of the event. So, what exactly happened to them after they reached Maryland? When physical evidence disappears, conspiracy theories unite. For 5 decades, skeptics claimed the Apollo 11 landing was a Hollywood production. They argued director Stanley Kubrick filmed the entire event on a massive soundstage. The missing telemetry tapes provided the ultimate ammunition for these theorists. In 2006, NASA engineer Richard Napsker launched his official search to end these rumors permanently. He wanted the raw data to dismantle the 3 core arguments of the moon truthers. Exhibit A involves the lunar shadows. Critics point to intersecting shadows as proof of multiple studio lights. But the moon is heavily covered in craters and uneven slopes. When a shadow falls across a slope, perspective dictates that parallel lines appear to converge at a vanishing point. Exhibit B focuses on the American flag. The fabric clearly ripples, yet the moon has 0 atmosphere to create wind. To plant the pole, Neil Armstrong had to twist it violently into the lunar soil. On Earth, air resistance quickly dampens that vibration. In a true vacuum, there is absolutely 0 aerodynamic drag. The kinetic energy remains trapped within the cloth. The flag is simply remembering the aggressive movement of the astronaut. Exhibit C is the smoking gun of lunar physics. Watch the dirt kicked up by the rover wheels in later missions. On Earth, atmospheric displacement causes dust to float and form billowing clouds. On the moon, every single grain of dirt follows a perfect parabolic arc. The dust rises and falls instantly without suspension. To simulate that exact physical behavior in 1969, you would need to vacuum out a soundstage the size of a football stadium. The technology to fake the landing simply did not exist, but the technology to erase the evidence entirely, that was sitting right inside a federal warehouse. The 2006 investigation did not uncover a brilliant Soviet espionage plot. It found a mundane shortage of supplies. In the early 1980s, NASA was building the Landsat satellite network. These Earth-observing satellites generated terabytes of weather daily. They desperately needed magnetic tapes to record this continuous information. New high-fidelity tapes cost money that the space agency simply lacked, but they had a massive archive of legacy data sitting idle. An administrator looked at accession number 69A4099. He saw 45 reels labeled Apollo 11 raw data. He knew the major networks already had the standard broadcast copies, so he issued the official order to recycle the backup reels. The agency saved roughly $15 per tape. But the real reason for the tape shortage is incredibly bizarre. High-density magnetic tapes in the 1970s required a specific friction lubricant. Manufacturers relied heavily on whale oil for this physical process. An international ban on whaling caused a massive spike in tape production costs. Protecting the whales indirectly created an economic crisis for federal archives. NASA technicians pulled the 45 historic reels from the shelf. They placed them into a degaussing machine. This device erases data using an intense alternating magnetic field. Magnetic tape stores data by precisely aligning iron oxide particles. The degausser disrupts this alignment by exceeding the tape's coercivity limit. It throws the particles into a rapidly oscillating hysteresis loop. The machine spun the magnetic moments into completely random orientations. Neil Armstrong descending the ladder was scrubbed entirely. Buzz Aldrin saluting the American flag turned into pure magnetic noise. We permanently deleted the moon to watch the rain fall over Oregon. But history has a very funny habit of surviving in the strangest places. While the original telemetry data vanished, a miracle happened elsewhere. In June 1976, the government held a surplus auction at Ellington Air Force Base. A college intern named Gary George attended looking for a quick profit. He purchased a massive pallet of 1,150 used magnetic tape reels. The total cost was exactly $217.77. His plan was to sell the bulk tapes to local TV stations for reuse. But his father noticed something unusual while unloading the heavy boxes. 3 specific reels bore a very distinct Ampex manufacturing label. They clearly read Apollo 11 EVA and were dated July 20th, 1969.
These 3 reels of tape that were labeled Apollo 11 EVA, and Dad, being the space buff that he was, he looked at that and he just said, I don't think I'd give those away. I think I'd hang on to those. Those might be valuable someday.
These were 2-inch quadruplex videotapes. Quadruplex technology recorded the video signal transversely across the tape. It utilized 4 rapidly rotating magnetic heads to write the data. This allowed for a much higher bandwidth and far superior image quality. Gary's father advised his son to set those 3 specific reels aside. Gary threw the historical artifacts into a climate-controlled closet and forgot about them. They sat in the dark, completely untouched, for over 30 years. Then, the 2006 NASA search hit the national news networks. Gary George realized what he had and contacted federal investigations. Does a former college intern actually hold the key to restoring the moon landing? In July 2019, the Gary George tapes went to auction at Sotheby's. They sold to an anonymous buyer for $1.82 million. NASA rushed the tapes to a specialized playback facility. The world waited for a high-definition miracle, but the final result was a massive letdown. The video quality easily beat the original television broadcast, but they were still just first-generation NTSC copies. They were not the missing 1-inch magnetic telemetry tapes. The raw master data of the moon was permanently destroyed. The administrator in 1981 had done his job far too well. NASA was forced to hire a Hollywood restoration company called Lowry Digital. They utilized sophisticated artificial intelligence to salvage the surviving video. The process relied heavily on temporal noise reduction. The algorithm analyzes a sequence of video frames simultaneously. It identifies random pixel fluctuations that do not match surrounding frames. It simply averages out those specific pixels to remove the visual static. They also used motion adaptive filtering to preserve sharpness. If an astronaut moves his arm, the filter temporarily switches off. This prevents motion blur while the static background continues to be denoised. The restored footage looks incredibly crisp and beautiful, but it's ultimately an algorithmic estimation of the truth. We are looking at a digital painting of history. Is a digital reconstruction enough to close the greatest cold case in space exploration? Malice is rarely the true enemy of history. We always picture massive book burnings and elite spies. The actual threat is a bored administrator. We did not lose the moon to a grand global conspiracy. We lost the greatest human achievement to a tight spreadsheet. The original negatives are gone forever. Case number 01 is officially closed. But do not get too comfortable. Incompetence is incredibly common in my line of work. Next time, we examine a fully equipped military force. They declared open combat on a massive flock of flightless birds. The Australian Army took on the emu. The birds actually won the war. I am the Watchman. Stay in the light. Now, someone give me a coffee. This atmosphere is depressing.